Good afternoon. Let me be the first to welcome you to our professional development session. Uh, my name is Christopher Fisher, and as we get started, I want you to go ahead and take a moment to share and utilize some of the tools that we have available to us in the chat. What differentiated instruction means to you? If you've heard the term before, if you want to put it in a little bit of a definition, or if you have no idea what it is at all, go ahead and let me know. I want to see that response inside the chat. While you're doing that, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit further. As I said before, my name is Christopher Fisher. I've been in education like the majority of us, of you, for 10 plus years. I'm working towards my 15th year in education. I've worked in both virtual and brick and mortar K-12 applications. I've been at secondary, elementary, and even taught at higher educations. I've been a campus administrator and a instructor for instructional coaching. So I've kind of run the gambit of understanding and looking at the pedagogical applications and the procedural applications of differentiated instruction inside of a classroom. And I want today to open up and create a professional development environment that is welcoming and inviting for all of us. What this is not is one of those professional development that's based on judgment. We're here, we're all open and trying to build a greater knowledge, and with discussions from your administrators, many of you are doing a lot of these techniques. There's a lot of differentiated instruction going on, and there's some really great things that are going on inside of your classrooms. What I am here today to do is to provide an introduction, as well as in a coaching standpoint, to help better further and understand which techniques we're using are differentiated, why we're using them, and to better utilize the ones that we are in the practical and technical application of them. So it's an opportunity for here, not as I gotcha or that you don't know this and I'm here to judge you. I'm here to open up and provide an opportunity for us to all get a better understanding of differentiated instruction and how to better apply it inside of our classroom. And I'm seeing some wonderful answers inside of the chat. Thank you guys so much for your participation. With the technology that we have, normally we would be face-to-face, but with all of us, we learn to grow and adapt and overcome. So this virtual platform that we're going to be using today, just as in a face-to-face professional development, what I'm going to ask you guys to do is to participate. I'm going to ask you to turn your cameras on, use the chat, use some of the tools like the raise your hand tool, and I'll explain those, as well as some of the other emojis that we have in there. The clap your hands, the raise the thumb up, and we're going to use these tools as ways to engage and move through the environment we have. So like I said, I still see we have a lot of great definitions coming in. I see alternating assignments, changing and moving to help your students. Those are all wonderful, great ideas, and thank you guys so much for your participation. As we continue and move forward, we have to look at what differentiated instruction is. And this cartoon kind of plays a great example of it. If we look closely, our students differ, just like the students in this picture. And our teaching needs to address that difference. And one size fits all model doesn't always do that. And even when we are differentiating, we have to know the information behind that and why we're doing that. So today is going to be a brief introduction. I'm going to keep it very, very short, just to kind of set a baseline of figuring out where we know, so that when I can come back, I can monitor and adjust my instruction while we're doing it now, as well as in further applications of this professional development. So what is differentiated instruction? As I said, you guys have done a wonderful job putting together pieces of it in there, and I'm just going to kind of give us a wider approach to understanding it. Differentiated instruction is an approach to teaching that increases the opportunity for all students to learn by, one, identifying the variety of things that students have, and two, by addressing those needs simultaneously in the same classroom by altering activities for different students or groups of students. Examples of non-differentiated instruction, and this is where we kind of get in trouble, grouping students in different classes based on their abilities, compared to differentiated instruction, students grouped into small groups which are designed around their strengths and weaknesses, and so they can tutor each other. So I want you to take for just a second and look at these two concepts. at the baseline of it, they don't seem that much different, but there's light years difference between them. And as hopefully as we continue through our process of different instruction, that you will be able to kind of select and see the subtle differences, but those that represent a true atmosphere of differentiated instruction. Our research comes in the basis for most of differentiated instruction as a pedagogical technique comes from the research of Carol Ann Tomlinson. And some quick facts about her. She's the author of several books, including The Differentiated Classroom, Responding to the Needs of All Learners. And she's a frequent contributor to with teachers and through her professional development throughout the U.S. and abroad. So it is a research that has been based and applied in many applications. Today, our quick workshop will address a few things. How can, as a teacher, help all students learn the same inside of a classroom despite their individual differences? And we'll assess where you are now. We've kind of done that with understanding and your definitions. We'll provide a collection of tools to support differentiation. And in the next steps, we'll kind of overview some of our coaching support options. So what I want us to do is using our, just as we were in face-to-face, I want us to use some of the tools we have. If everyone will turn on their cameras, and we have 3 hand signals that we'll have. I'll have a closed fist, we'll have the 3 fingers, and we'll have the traditional 5 hand. And I want you to choose one of these 3 symbols that best represents how you know and where you feel about differentiated instruction. If all you know about is differentiation is what I'm going to tell you, go ahead and use the fist. If you know a fair amount of differentiated instruction, go ahead and use the 3 fingers. And if you could run the workshop all by yourself without having me here, go ahead and put up the 5 fingers. We're going to take a few minutes to see that so that you can see that. If you do feel that differentiation makes you feel overwhelmed, go ahead and give me that fist. If you can occasionally get stressed out about differentiating, go ahead and give me the 3 fingers. And if you're very comfortable in differentiating, give me the 5. And I can use this to kind of give us a framework of where we're at and what we need to see. Thank you guys so much for that wonderful feedback. I could see the great feedback that you guys are giving me from that kind of formative assessment. I can see that many of us feel a little bit uncomfortable about differentiated instruction or don't know very much. And I see there are a couple of quite excellent experts that we have, and I'm going to use you guys as in our breakout rooms to kind of help further this idea. As I said, we're doing this together, and I'm going to lean on you as well to help the others that are in our professional development so that we can all grow together. So with that, I want us to all kind of reflect on what differentiation instruction is. And we're going to use these 3 options to kind of introduce ourselves, set a baseline for our information, and to see where we're at. Option A, to illustrate a differentiated instruction with example activity, including both why and how and parts of the definition. Option B, list a few key principles with differentiated instruction using categories of why and how. Option C, to quick write a list of questions that you have about differentiated instruction. What I want you to do is I want you to choose one of these options, then write silently for 2 minutes in the chat, but don't send that chat. Keep in mind that somebody else will read you and will read what you write. And then what I want you to do is I want you to look at the thumbnail image of the person you have that's either behind you or to the side of you on the thumbnail of our images that we have for our video views. And then I want you to send a private chat to them. Introduce yourself, exchange the chosen options that you've had, read them, and then discuss what you've had. And we're gonna through this, we're gonna give you about 15 minutes to work together in groupings and move through it. Okay, and I'll return you back once we set up, and I'll open up a breakout room, and we can kind of and I'll move through those breakout rooms individually once we come back as another activity that we have. So our important things is understanding the key concepts. Getting to know your students is an important first step in differentiation and in differentiated instruction. Why is that? So I'm going to open up the mic to allow you to talk and do that, and let me know why do you feel this? Wow, that's excellent. Those were excellent remarks, and those were excellent discussions. And you guys hit the nail right on the head. Differentiated instruction is not specific instructional formulas. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. But what it is a mindset for teaching, a blended group, and it's intentional in structure. Thank you guys. You're doing an excellent job, and I'm so proud of what you have. And we can